All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, May 28th. We got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props, that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So I'm actually rolling with myself if that does interest you. If you do want to fade me, all of those plays will be down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, the Guppies were loud in the comments, but I think we shut them up a little bit. We'll take the cha-ching. A heck of a lot more green than there was red yesterday. We don't have to go through them all, but you know what? One more cha-ching there. A big night overall. And now let's hopefully carry that momentum into today. Unfortunately, the vibes have to drop and dip a little bit because the ride of the day here, got to drop a womp womp on my man DJ. Two-leg parlay that looked good right off the rip, because the Marlins got off to a scorching hot lead, right? And they ended up losing 7-6, I think, in the first 5, but they were up like 3 or 4 to nothing. That leg was looking good. And then the Yankees and Angels over 7.5, that doesn't come through. But we can definitely acknowledge, and I got your back, DJ, that this was a plus 180 and beyond parlay on most books. We were taking a shot here, right? So if you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. We also track you on the public tracker here, which this will also be within the link in the pinned comment. And you can see we have John, who still has the record, at least since we've been tracking. There's been plenty in the past that have gone on longer streaks, but John has the record at 3. You can see DJ was last here, and we track it for everyone to see. I also post it on my Twitter/X, but essentially, if you win your play, and we ride with the person down in the comments, right? You win your play, we continue to roll with you until the wheels fall off. If you do lose, though, you got to face the womp womp like DJ did today. So get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. And yeah, let's hopefully get on board with a winner today. I'll be picking the one that has the most likes down in the comments. So if you see one you like, be a good guy, be a good girl. Go ahead and like that play, because we're going to ride with one that the community seems to like the most. So get that down in the comments. But all right, what do you say we go ahead and dive into today's slate? Hit that like button, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. We're starting off with Tampa Bay taking on Minnesota, and we have what we could consider a potential pitcher's duel here, right? Pablo Lopez taking on Drew Rasmussen. I do like the idea of a first 5 under, just kind of backing both of these pitchers. If it comes down to what team I believe has the better offense and the better bullpen, I guess, in a sense, I would say Minnesota. Now, Minnesota did use a couple key arms yesterday, but not to a great extent. So I'm going to lean towards Minnesota here on the money line. I'll lean towards them. I'll lean towards the first 5 under, and then I guess a full game under as well. The one concern I have is that if this Minnesota offense is going to continue to play well, I mean, yesterday they kind of had to squeeze out the win, so hopefully that's a good sign of another low-scoring game. But give me a low-scoring Minnesota win, and I'll be a happy camper. Moving on, Cleveland taking on the Dodgers. I really do wish we pulled the trigger on the Dodgers yesterday. Can't complain about the day, but ultimately, that would have been the right side. Now Cleveland faces them today. They have, I think it's Jakob Yunis on the mound, going up against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw really hasn't been, I guess you could say, himself so far this year, but he's only got a couple starts under his belt, right? This is going to come down to the slider. Yunis throws a lot of sliders, so does Kershaw, but honestly, who knows what we're even going to get out of Yunis. I'm going to lean Dodgers again, but the thing that's probably going to keep me off of them is the fact that we'd be looking at a 3-game sweep here, right? And Cleveland's lost 3 games in a row. At some point, they probably just squeak one out, especially being at home. I just don't necessarily know what we're going to get out of the starting pitcher there, right? So far this season, he only has, I think, 20 appearances and 0 starts. So are we going to get 3 innings out of him? Is it going to be just an opener, like for 1 inning? kind of a lot of question marks there. And if it gets down to the bullpen, I do think that this Dodgers team can continue to score. But again, that sweep opportunity, or the sweep non-opportunity in a sense, kind of scares me a little bit. So I'll lean towards the Dodgers. I don't mind the idea of an over either, just given the fact that, this is a spot in which I think that the Dodgers offense is clearly in a good spot. 7 runs game 1, 9 runs in game 2, and we even saw Cleveland heat up a little bit yesterday with 5 runs. So give me the Dodgers as well as the over, and then no player props in this one either. In terms of that Cleveland pitcher, I want to keep an eye on it though, because I think I have seen one site with Slade Ciccone as the pitcher. It wouldn't change anything I think about in this game, but we want to make sure that we know exactly what's going on with that pitching, whether Eunice is coming out and pitching 1 inning and then it goes to Ciccone, that type of thing. All right, Mets taking on the White Sox. We can move through this one fairly quick because I don't love it all that much. It's a super juiced side for the Mets, and that's still the right side. You do have Smith on the mound for the White Sox, and we've been saying all year that that is one of the guys that you can back. But I don't think you can back them against, or back him against an offense like the Mets. Now, yesterday they just kind of broke out a little bit of a rut. They had scored 3 and then 2, and then they scored 6 yesterday. Who knows if they can go out there and do that again today, but I don't really want to put my hard-earned bread on something that's kind of got some question marks. So, yeah, if you do like the White Sox, sure, I'm not going to argue you maybe in the first 5 or something like that, because I think Griffin Canning, I don't necessarily love him. I think he's been fantastic this year, but we've now seen 2 straight starts in a row of a little bit of regression. But I would throw a little caution out there. Yankees and Dodgers are those regression starts we've seen. So the White Sox will probably come in here and pump them. You know what I mean? So I do think the Mets may be in some sort of parlay or something like that. Or you just consider their team total over. You could probably get a good number today because I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe, I don't have it up, I think we do have some windy and rainy conditions there, at the Mets. So maybe that helps bring their team total down and they could still put out a decent number. But this one's kind of got too many question marks for me to really be confident in much in this one. Milwaukee taking on Boston. This is a frustrating Red Sox team to be a fan of here. I do like the idea of Brian Bayo maybe pitching okay today, though. He's going to throw the sinker and the slider. That slider should be very good against his Milwaukee offense. And don't get fooled with the Milwaukee 5-1 win yesterday. They scored 1 run and then won the bottom of the 10th, hit a grand slam. So their offense was not really chugging along there, right? They had to go to extras, win that. So, I still don't believe in this offense. I'm going to lean slightly towards the under because I don't necessarily love the idea of the Red Sox just tattooing Freddie Peralta. What I will say is that he's got some numbers against them, but it's only in 13 plate appearances, so I wouldn't really put too much weight into that, right? Same thing with Bayo. He's got some good numbers against the Brewers roster in only 19 plate appearances. I think both these guys in their pitch mix should be okay today. If the Red Sox kind of get to the fastball, then yeah, Peralta might be in trouble, but this guy's fastball is different than most. So I'm going to lean towards an under, and I guess I would say Milwaukee first 5. I think Brian Bayo can hold his own today, though, so I wouldn't jump at that. Maybe a first 5 under is something worth considering as well. What do we have for odds for that? Yeah, minus 130. That has a chance to be a final play because, again, I like the idea of Bayo with his pitch mix, and then Freddie Peralta is obviously a freaking beast, so maybe we do see a low-scoring game in the first 5 innings like we saw yesterday. Real quick, guys, before we do move on with the slate, I want to talk to you about Sleeper. Go ahead and check out that link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. You're going to get a few different things. They have a ton of promos on the app right now. You'll get a free square as a new user. That's great. You're going to get one of the basketball players, I would assume, 0.5 points, which is awesome. But they also have just discounted squares every single day for these playoff matchups. They're dropping pitcher strikeout lines down to 4.5, that type of thing. And you're going to get 100% of your first deposit match. So Sleeper is absolutely crushing and taking over the promo game right now. If you want in on the action, again, that link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. I've been rocking with Sleeper for years. I think they do a ton of stuff that is very, very unique and awesome over on their platform. So go ahead and check out that product, guys. Again, link down in the description as well as a pinned comment, or sign up using code GUYBOSS. And if you like player props and you like betting on players, this is the place to do it. Go ahead and check that out. Now let's jump back into these games here. Detroit taking on San Francisco. Unfortunately, I was really hoping Detroit, I guess, almost even ended up losing yesterday in a sense, to be able to take them today, because I do like Jackson Jobe. He's on the mound against Landon Rupp, who I don't think is very good. He's looked fantastic, but he's gone up against Washington and the A's in his last couple starts. Yes, 6 innings of shutout performance in both of those, but I don't think he's all that great. I think Jackson Jobe is really starting to get the job done and kind of show why he is so touted. So yeah, I like Detroit in this spot, but they're in a sweep situation, and maybe I'm the idiot. And let me know in the comments what you think of it, because I am terrified of taking these teams that are fairly evenly matched in a sweep situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you were to tell me that Detroit wins 2 of the 3 against San Francisco, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks. If you were to tell me they swept them, I'd be a little bit more shocked. Today, if we did roll with Detroit, meaning we're hoping for a win, that means they would have to sweep San Francisco. They are at home, that's great. But yeah, get a little skeeved out there. So I'm going to lean Detroit. I think Jobe has a massive advantage here over Landon Rupp. He's going to throw a lot of sinkers. That's a pitch that Detroit hits really well. Jobe throws a lot of fastballs. San Fran can't touch that. The slider they can touch. So for that reason, maybe in San Fran's bullpen is looking very, very good. So sure, maybe San Francisco can squeak this one out, and Detroit still has a winning series. But I think Jobe has the advantage. It's just that sweep situation is kind of keeping me off it. I will say I don't mind the idea of another under or first 5 under. I just fear that this could be a 4-4 game that goes to extras. Yes, that seems like it's very high scoring, but just kind of like timely hits getting him in there. I don't think that this is going to be like a 10-8 game or anything crazy. I do think we have a low scoring game, but I wonder if they kind of just plug away at it. You know what I mean? So I'm considering an under. I just can rationalize an over, which at some point when you can argue the other side, maybe it's not something that you race to. And we've cashed the first 5 under already in this series. Do we really want to get greedy? We'll see. Keep an eye on the final plays. I do have 2 player props that we kind of stumbled across. Trey Sweeney under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And then on the other side of things, Tyler Fitzgerald under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is just because of the lefty-righty split. So Trey Sweeney, left-handed bat, his batting average does drop against righties. Right-handed bats for Fitzgerald against right-handed pitchers, that one drops. And then the pitch mix for both pitchers, they don't necessarily hit those pitches well either. So yeah, 2 player prop potential spots there. All right, Houston taking on the Athletics here. We have Severino on the mound going up against Lance McCullers Jr. I'm documented, and I think a lot of people are not exactly being the biggest Lance McCullers, fan here. But I will say he's kind of looked all right in his last couple starts. That last start against Seattle is pretty good. He only pitched, I think it was like 5 innings, but he had 8 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, like pretty good there. Luis Severino has still been up and down, and I said in my MLB Futures video that I don't think I'm going to be the biggest Severino fan this year. So there is a way to get to the Astros here. I just kind of fear that even though I'm not the biggest McCullers and he's looked okay, that he still could struggle in a sense. So maybe the way around that is to kind of hybridize the total and the side that we like here and just look at a Houston team total over. Right now, for the full game, you can get them over 3.5, 4. I believe it's like -140, which I think is all right. You look at Severino against him in the past, he's been pretty damn good, but this A's bullpen isn't anything to write home about. And they are, I think, fairly taxed. I mean, 3 guys pitched almost 30 pitches yesterday. They still have most of their guys, but yeah, Houston team total over is probably where I'd go in this one. I think the roof is closed, so we should have decent conditions and everything like that. So, yeah, go out there, keep seeing the ball well and hitting it. My one concern is they did score 11 runs yesterday, and, when they go out there and score a bunch, are they going to regress big time, or do they just kind of slightly regress? I would still think that that's the thing that I end up rolling with. So, Houston team total over. That's kind of a mix of the money line and the total in a sense, because this is another sweep situation, right? Which, again, I'm kind of a little wimp about. Arizona taking on Pittsburgh, and this is one that I think we could have some plays in. I like the first 5 under. We're paying a heck of a lot of juice. It's -165 over on MGM, but this is in the -180s and -190s on some books. So that -165 actually ends up having like 25 cents of value, which is crazy. So that could be something we consider. You have Skeens, by the way, and Zach Gallen on the mound. Yes, Paul Skeens probably has the advantage over my boy Zach Gallen, but not in this brain. I freaking love Zach Gallen. He's going to pump a lot of fastballs, and this is not a Pittsburgh team that hits a fastball well. My concern, I think, for this one, if we were to look at the first 500, is Paul Skeens touchable here? Like, could this be a spot in which, Arizona gets to him? I wouldn't necessarily say Yes, so I think I do trust the first 500, but his pitch mix in terms of fastball, and then he'll move on to the splitter. Like, Arizona does hit these pitches pretty well, all but one guy in the starting lineup. In fact, I'll just show you in our dashboard here, and I'll explain how to get access to this dashboard just when we're done breaking down this game. But all but one player, and it's going to be Smith here, in the lineup has a negative or has a positive and pretty decent positive runs above average over the last 30 days number to the fastball, right? We look at the splitter. Okay, well, a couple of the nicer names in the lineup have some decent numbers there. So I do think there's potential for them to hit him today, but it is Paul Skeens. It doesn't matter if numbers look good and all that. Like, the guy's one of, if not, one of the best pitchers in the entire league, right? So I do think that we should trust him, I guess, over that Arizona lineup, but I'm also going to kind of lean towards Arizona here on the money line. At the end of the day, what team has the better offense? The Diamondbacks, right? Even though they haven't necessarily looked all that consistent, but this Pittsburgh team, like, they scored 9 runs yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and throw a parade for them. They scored 9 runs, and those runs came, I want to say, like, very late in the game, right? Didn't they? I know I think Corbin Burns pitched a really good game. I don't have exactly the innings in which those runs came, but, like, it was kind of like just like I said with the Milwaukee Brewers, kind of like, that was kind of lucky, and it looks better on the box score than it is in person. So give me Arizona as well as the team total under. We don't have any player props right now, but this is definitely the type of game where I think there's some potential player props in terms of under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. So if you see any of those in the final plays, it pretty much would just tell you that I like the pitch mix split between lefties and righties. If I add anything, I'll give a little blurb as to why, though. Padres taking on the Marlins. The Marlins looked okay for a few innings yesterday. Max Meyer ended up getting kind of shelled, right? Kolek got shelled originally. He ended up pitching into the 6th. Now we have Santi Alcantara, who I just can't believe his numbers. 8.04 ERA, a whip 1.6, a FIP of 5.3, average against on the road here at 350. So yeah, who do you think that's going to win this game? Probably San Diego. What I will say is I don't think Kyle Hart is worth the minus 165 price tag. So if I were to roll something in this one, I'd say, okay, Marlins in the first 5. Give me Alcantara. Maybe he has a good performance. You know what I mean? Just maybe. I don't think that I could touch this one with a 10-foot pole, though, because Alcantara has been bottom of the barrel. Like, his name has given him a lot of leeway this season, former Cy Young and all that. Recent Cy Young, in a sense, too, only a few years ago. But the dude stinks right now, so I'm very hesitant to get near him. But I don't think that Kyle Hart is at all worth the price that we're looking at here. So, yeah, I'm going to probably stick away from this game overall. If I had to look at a total, maybe an over's in play because, hell, Hart could get hit up, Alcantara could get hit up. It's not like I'm sitting here loving either one of these bullpens. San Diego does have a good bullpen, but with some of the injuries and some of the guys that have pitched recently, they're fairly taxed. All right, Baltimore taking on St. Louis. I'll drop the psycho alert alarm here. I think this could be a sneaky Baltimore spot. They had won 3 straight games. Maybe they were starting to turn things around, right? Michaelis is on the mound going up against Cade Povich. Cade Povich, new to this St. Louis roster. They haven't seen him before, and they don't hit lefties very well. The concerning thing would be he's going to go fastball, slider, kind of a normal pitch mix. They do hit those pitches pretty well, but again, this is a team that drops into the bottom 7 in the league in terms of average in the last 30 days against lefties. Bottom half-ish when it comes to power numbers and whatnot. So yeah, there is definitely potential here for Cade Povich to look okay. Cade Povich has been a guy that we wanted to back early in the year. He kind of blew us. Big time pause. He screwed us. Also kind of pause, but not as bad. But what I will say is that this is kind of a guy that maybe is starting to look a little bit better, right? Like, maybe it is the guy that we thought was going to start the season. So give me Cade Povich, and I'll also lean towards a slight under in this spot. I think this has got like a sneaky 4-3 game written all over it, because I still don't want to sit here and say that Baltimore's offense is going to go out there and absolutely mash, right? Like, Michaelis has been pretty good. He'll try and keep the ball on the ground, and this Baltimore team certainly keeps the ball on the ground. So yeah, Baltimore in the under is what I'm looking at here. All right, potential pitchers duel here. We got Philadelphia taking on Atlanta. Phillies, Zach Wheeler's on the mound going up against Atlanta's A.J. Smith-Shawver. I think that this is a low-scoring game, and then ultimately when we get to the bullpens, they kind of open it up. So tale of two different tapes here, I guess, if we wanted to say. I think this is a good first 5 under spot. You're just trusting 2 stud pitchers, right? Zach Wheeler, it's hard to find a better pitcher than him. And then Smith Shawver, I would say, is in the category of a good pitcher, especially coming off of a absolute dog, you-know-what, of a game against Washington. He should bounce back. I would assume he'll bounce back. Ultimately, though, he's going to throw the fastball and the splitter. Philly hits both of those pitches really well. So if you do want to limit this to a Braves first 5 team total under, I don't think I'd call you crazy. Right now, I believe you can get under 1.5 for plus money. If you can't get plus money, I would probably just, like I was originally thinking, go with the first 5 total under in general. But I do think that the Philadelphia Phillies have the upper edge in this one, whether it comes to Zach Wheeler or the offense, anything like that. So I'm going to lean Phillies in this spot. If you can get them in the first 5 for a decent price tag, like within the minus 145, minus 155, I think that could be a decent look. Run line, I know they're in that like around minus 115. I think that could be a good look here. Zach Wheeler this year, when he pitches, they've covered the run line in 73% of their games at home, all 4 of them. That being said, Colorado, Miami, Pittsburgh, and Washington are the teams they've played at home when he's pitched. Let's not get too carried away, right? Smith Shawver is still a very good pitcher. Kansas City taking on Cincinnati. We have Cameron on the mound going up against Hunter Green. Easy enough for me to say, hey, let Hunter Green go, right? This is a spot in which he's having a very, very good year. This is a Kansas City team that struggles against both the fastball and the slider. Look no further. My problem is that Cincinnati's offense is probably something that I still think is very volatile. Now, I keep saying it, and they keep scoring runs, but that's the point. At some point, we know the Cincinnati offense is going to go because that's what they do, right? They literally are like a roller coaster. They ride this high, and then all of a sudden they'll score 0 runs. So there's no better guy in their pitching rotation than to back, even if they could score 2 runs, than Hunter Green, because he might be able to blank a Kansas City team, but that is causing a little bit of hesitation. So I lean Cincinnati. I'll also lean towards the under. 4-3 win for Cincinnati makes sense to me here, and it kind of would show that maybe their offensive drought is coming, but not totally just yet. Now, a player prop spot that we like, and this has been like a kryptonite for us this year. So, yeah, we're gonna run it back one more time. But if it crashes and burns, then we might be screwed here. But we got Jonathan India under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is, like I said, a little questionable, but his batting average does drop to 217 against right-handed bats. Hunter Green against right-handed pitchers. Hunter Green against right-handed bats, his batting average drops down to 160. We're going to get a lot of fastballs. Jonathan India's WOBA drops down against the fastball. His slider is his next pitch, right? Drops down to 181. So we could see a good matchup here. And again, I think everything we've touched with Jonathan India this year has turned to crap. Maybe we got a little diamond in the rough here in terms of a player prop. All right, much like that Mets game, massive favorite here with the Cubs. I don't mind the idea of maybe like a Cubs and Mets parlay. I don't even know what the odds would be because they're both freaking crazy juiced anyways. But Matthew Boyd's in the mound. I really do like him. Tanner Gordon's on the other side. I don't think that's going to be the best of spots for him. And these 2 games so far in this series have been closer than I think you would imagine with this Cubs and Colorado team. But the weather has been crappy in Chicago there. So that kind of explains it to some degree, right? And I want to say it's a little bit better today. Yeah, the wind has died down substantially. There's still like a 10% chance of precipitation, but nonetheless, I still do kind of sit here and think that, okay, well, the Cubs are just the better team. I think they'll squeak this one out, whether it's a high-scoring game, low-scoring game, anything like that. So give me the Cubs, and maybe another look at their team total over because the weather's bringing that down. Tejas taking on Toronto. We have Tyler Mahle on the mound, going up against Eric Lauer, who I still don't necessarily have the best of reads on. You know what I mean? We have a couple starts now under his belt. Obviously, he has some other innings, bullpen innings below him under his belt as well. I have seen a couple different names, though. Eric Lauer, Schultz. So I don't think we know exactly who's starting for Toronto. But I don't know if that's going to necessarily matter. We have Texas's Tyler Mahle, who I do think is a very good pitcher, and he's kind of coming off of a start in which you wouldn't really expect. Now, it looks okay, 5 hits through 5 innings, 3 earned runs, right? But it was against the White Sox. The dude had been dealing prior to that, so I do think that he's in for a nice little bounce back spot here. That wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs, then he'll go to the splitter. The fastball is a pitch that Toronto struggles with. The splitter, not so much. But like I said, I don't necessarily see Toronto Toronto's pitching, whether it's Lauer, Schultz, or even getting down to their bullpen, who has thrown a decent amount lately, I don't really see where their advantage necessarily comes in. And I think their bullpen actually have it flipped. I think Toronto's bullpen might be in a good place. But either way, this is a series in which it's coin flippy. Game 1, 2-1. Game 2, 2-0. Toronto wins game 1. Texas wins game 2. This is probably one where more runs come in. So I almost think Texas team total over could be something to consider, because though both offenses are volatile, I don't think that they're going to score another 2-run or 3-run game. And if I had to pick which pitcher I think will let up more runs, it ain't Tyler Mahle. So yeah, Texas team total over could be something that we get behind today. Angels taking on the Yankees. I guess this is another one which we can kind of go through quickly. Except you see Kikichi's on the mound, who I do think is pretty good. His numbers against this Yankees team are not all that bad either. 85 plate appearances against, a 31% K rate. He does have a 14% walk rate, worth noting there, but an expected batting average against of 218. That's pretty good, right? He's obviously going to throw a lot of sliders. This Yankees team is good against the slider, though. And Clark Schmidt, on the other hand, is going to throw a lot of cutters. This LA team stinks against the cutter. So I do think this is still a Yankees spot. Do we really want to get down with the Yankees at a price? What is it right now? Let's get the updated line. I think it's like minus 165, minus 164. Like, they're the definite better team. They should win this game, but we've been getting a little greedy. We had the Yankees money line 2 days ago. We had their first 5-run line yesterday. That's the only spot that I would look here. But again, it's a little dicey because Kikuchi is a good pitcher. You know what I mean? So I'm going to lean Yankees in this spot. I will lean towards a Yankees team total. I don't want to touch a full game or full total because who knows what the Angels are going to bring to the party. They're like the guy that you invite to the party that shows up with nothing. You know what I mean? And no one likes that guy. So I think that this could be a team total play, but I'm thinking twice about it because of Kikuchi for sure. And last but not least, we have George Kirby making his second start, I believe, of the season. He's going up against Trevor Williams here. Now, Trevor Williams has been a guy that, I feel like we've tried to and forced trying to, back, right? I think both of these offenses, Seattle's starting to show their true colors, but George Kirby is a better pitcher regardless of what happened to him. And he looked okay through a few innings in that first start, right? I think 2 innings he looked good, and then boom, lights went out. So I'm going to trust Seattle in this one. The problem is at minus 205 with a pitcher that we still have some question marks about coming off of injury, I don't fully trust. So I'm going to lean towards Seattle and an under. I do like the under in this one because I think Trevor Williams should actually be able to hold his own to some degree. So that's going to be a spot that we consider. So it'll be Seattle as well as maybe a first 5 under because, you know what, that way we're at least putting a little bit of trust into George Kirby, but we don't have to back them on the money line because, damn, I mean, backing them on the money line would be like, you're almost going in blindly because George Kirby, we still don't know. If he does what he did last time, this first 5 under is toast, right? And that's because he's just coming off of injuries and stuff. So I don't hate that play. That definitely has a chance of being a final play, but keep an eye on the final place to see what we end up rolling with in this one because I like Seattle, but it's tough to back them at a price like that right now. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Really do appreciate it. Comment 27 if you made it this far in the video. You're a real one if you did. We've had a lot of hate on the comments lately, but you know what? There's 10 times more love than hate, which I can see that as well. So really do appreciate it. We'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.